Hi, I'm Katie Zaferes, Super League champion and World Triathlon Series medalist, and you are listening to the Physical Performance Show.
And the winner is...
Failure is not an option.
I've had my ups and my downs.
I think it's an absolutely breakthrough experience.
Welcome to the Physical Performance Show, the show designed to inspire the pursuit of your physical best performance. I'm your host, Brad Beer. Listen in as we delve into how the world's top physical performers achieve their success, as well as the highs, the lows, and the journey of getting there. Let's get ready, set, let's go. Welcome back, or welcome to the Physical Performance Show, brought to you by the Gold Coast Marathon and Pogo Physio. I'm Brad Beer, sports physiotherapist by trade and training, and each week we will aim to bring you the highs, the lows, and the learnings of our featured guests. We'll include expert editions, coaches' corners, interest editions, and featured performer episodes. And on today's conversation, I bring you a recent conversation that I had with US Triathlon powerhouse and 2016 Olympian Katie Zaferes. Katie's accomplishments of late are remarkable. Katie has been on a winning rampage. Katie recently was crowned the 2018-2019 Super League Triathlon Inaugural champion, where Katie dominated the competition across the multi-round racing. Katie started 2019 very strongly with a win in the Abu Dhabi first round of the World Triathlon Series. And this is all off the back with an extremely tight tussle from the 2018 World Triathlon Championship Series, where Katie finished a very close second to Vicki Holland of the UK for the overall world title. As Katie looks ahead to 2019 and 2020, on this episode today, we discuss transitioning from track running, key insights from Katie's training environment, Super League Triathlon, and the highs and the lows. So here is my conversation with US Olympic triathlete, Super League Triathlon champion, Katie Zaferes. Katie Zaferes, this is a real thrill. Been looking forwards to this for quite a while now, so it's great to finally connect. You're in Mallorca, having finished a swim session, and I'm here on the Gold Coast, so welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Katie, we always start with something a little fun, and that's what's one thing that Katie Zaferes, 2018-19 Super League Triathlon champion, is learning at the moment?
I'm focused on my Spanish at the moment. I'm on a 15-day Duolingo streak.
Please explain. 15-day streak, that's all I heard. What's the middle bit? Duolingo.
Yes. It's a language app, so I learned Spanish on it, but you can learn other languages, and it gives you little incentives to try and do it every day.
And so can you wow us with a little bit of your Spanish now?
Oh, don't put the pressure on me.
You're used to pressure, Katie.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? That's what everybody knows. Me gusta helado.
Well, it sounds good to me. Katie, that's fantastic. And look, talking about Spain, you've had a dominating season, finishing a career high best in the World Triathlon Series rankings of second for the 2018 series, and then taking out the inaugural Super League Championship Series recently with a dominant performance across the rounds, culminating in Singapore. So congratulations. But where did this all start for you, Katie? How did you first find your way into the sport of triathlon?
Yeah, so I grew up and I was playing soccer, lacrosse, swimming. Those were probably my three main sports up through high school. And then partway through high school, I kind of stopped playing lacrosse, but said I was going to run to stay in shape for soccer, except I ended up being pretty good at it. And ultimately, running started taking over. And I continued to run and swim all through high school. And then when I was looking at universities, I was looking at universities where I could swim, universities where I could run, ones that I could run and swim at. And in the U.S., you can get scholarships for sports. And I looked at many schools and decided I really liked Syracuse University, but that one would only be for running. So for my whole collegiate career, I just ran. I think I swam in the pool like maybe twice for no longer than 2K. But USA Triathlon, they have a program that recruits people who swim or run Division I in college and have a background in the opposite. So they saw that I ran Division I, had a background in swimming, and kind of recruited me based off of that.
And Katie, you're running. What distances were you focusing on through your collegiate years?
A lot of, cross country was my favorite. I love that, and I love the team dynamic there. But on the track, I was mainly doing 3K, 5K, and then towards the end of my career, like the last 2 years, I did steeplechase, so the 3K steeplechase on the track, and that was probably my favorite just because I really liked, I got bored running around in circles, so I like the fact that you can't really zone out when there's a barrier in front of you in a water pit. So to me, it was like cross country on track, which was made it a bit more fun for me.
That's the best description I've ever heard of steeplechase, Katie, cross-country on track. And when USA Triathlon realised the talent that you had, at that point, had you followed triathlon in any way, shape or form? Did you know of any triathletes at that stage that you aspired to be like, or was this just an experiment for you at that stage? And what calendar year are we talking about?
In 2007, which is when I graduated high school, I had done a local triathlon with my dad on Father's Day. So it was just a sprint try. You swam in the pool, then biked like 15 miles, and then just ran 5K. So I'd done that with him, and I did it like a couple years in a row. But I didn't, at the time that USAT contacted me, I had no plan to ever go professional. I didn't know that you could be a professional in triathlon, nor did I know that there was draft legal versus non-draft and that it was in the Olympics. So it was definitely, when USA Triathlon contacted me, it was more like researching, okay, well, like what am I saying yes to, and learning a lot about it. But I would say I kind of dove in without having all the background knowledge, or I kind of just said yes before I knew exactly what I was getting myself into, and learned on the way more what triathlon is, specifically draft legal.
And was lacrosse or soccer still, was that way behind you at this point because you'd spent your collegiate years running, so it was really just running now triathlon?
Yeah, and I had never planned on going, I'd never really planned on running professionally. I didn't think I was good enough. And my idea of the Olympics, when people would say, oh, they want to make the Olympics, I was like, my first thoughts would always be, do you realize like how many people actually make the Olympics? Like it's not very many. So with running, once I graduated, my plan was I had applied to grad school, and my degree was in physical education. So I was more thinking what I was doing in that realm, more so than thinking about being a professional athlete.
So triathlon grabbed hold of you, and I mean, you've had an incredible few seasons. Obviously, you did make the Olympic team in 2016. But Katie, what would you rate as your career high, the highest day of your professional triathlon career to date, and why?
Oh, man, that's a hard one. Okay, but I think I'm going to go with, I'm just trying to decide between the two grand finals, Rotterdam or Gold Coast. But I feel like it's going to be Rotterdam for me, because I felt like that was a turning point, because I'd crashed in the race right before Rotterdam, and then Rotterdam was a pretty technical course, and it was also kind of rainy-ish or gloomy. And so I think being able to I finished second there, and finally I got on the podium for the series, and to be able to have a good technical ride and overcome my fears of cornering, and just have the confidence to race in a way that was on like Flora Duffy's wheel, who is very good technically. That had to probably be my proudest moment so far.
And that was the 2017 grand final of the World Triathlon Series in Rotterdam. And to hear you say fears of cornering, Katie, I've watched you ride a bike and I haven't, from the outside looking in, noticed any fears at all. So that's news to me.
Well, that's good, because it's been a focus since I started, but a lot more concentrated focus for the past 3 or 4 years. And it was the thing I struggled with most in Rio and have struggled with the most in my triathlon career. And Tommy and Joel and lots and lots of people have helped me to be able to overcome that. So yeah. I'm glad it's working.
It certainly is. And Katie, I must ask, where do you think you get your sporting genes from in terms of your family?
Well, both my parents, my dad did a lot of the contact sports growing up. So he was football player and played softball when he was older, and basketball. He was really sad that none of us, he has 3 girls, me and my 2 sisters, and none of us were basketball players. It was kind of the first sport to go for us. And then my mom was a runner, and I think she dove. So, I mean, they were both really athletic growing up.
And as a girl, so you had the sporting mum and dad, and I believe you have a sister, is that right, Katie?
2 sisters, yep.
2 sisters, sorry. Was the athletic gene pool spread across your sisters? What was it like growing up with your sisters?
So my older sister is 2 years older than me, and then my younger sister is 7 years younger than me. So my younger sister, I would say, we didn't really grow up doing sports together just because of the age difference, but she's a swimmer, and she swam collegiately and at a school in Pennsylvania. And then my older sister, she was the runner. So she was the one who, when I first started running, I had always considered it her sport. And I ended up being quite a bit faster than her. And I remember one race that we were doing the 2 mile for the track in high school, and I was coming around and about to lap her, and she moved out into the further lane, so I didn't have to go around her. And I'll never forget that, because I always felt like it was her sport, and I didn't really want to take that away from her. But we're all athletic, and my sister, she still runs recreationally, and my little sister, I think she's enjoying her break from swimming. She just graduated last year. So I don't think she's excited to get in the pool quite yet.
That's terrific. And Katie, please put us in a typical year for you. So, you're with Joel Filiol on the super high performance environment that you guys have created there. And you're on the road for so much of the year, and only back home, I believe, in your hometown or your place of residence in Santa Cruz in the US for maybe 3 months in your tiny house, which we must touch on. But what does a year look like? So you've just started, the year with a win in the Super League Triathlon Series. Then you've just had a win in Abu Dhabi for round 1 of the 2019 World Triathlon Series. So where to from here, and where will you be putting your head to rest each night for the rest of the year?
So we kind of are lucky this year, because we get a couple stops back home in Santa Cruz throughout the year. They're just going to be short parts, but it's nice that we'll just get to go home for a little bit. So we're in Mallorca now, and we stay here through Bermuda, which is at the end of April. And then from Bermuda, we go home to Santa Cruz for just until Yokohama. So 2 weeks in Santa Cruz, Yokohama, then we'll go straight to Leeds. Leeds, we go to Les Anglais, France to Montreal, Canada, to Hamburg, Germany. We'll go to Flagstaff before the Tokyo test event, go back home before Edmonton. I'm getting everything a little mixed up here.
But
this is the general idea.
there's a lot of travel, and lucky you've got, and I can hear,
and then
I believe
I still haven't made it to the Super Leagues.
Yeah, so. Throw those in. And I think that you might have had some assistance there, outside assistance from your amazing husband, Tommy. So thanks, Tommy, for your input. And Katie, the tiny house, I think it's one of the best stories going around, and I love the online story about your big ambitions for Tokyo 2020, but the very wise use of what I believe you might have termed the tiny house. So can you put us in a little bit of perspective of this genius home in Santa Cruz?
Yeah, we have it just on our sister and brother-in-law's property, and it works out really well for us because when we go home, which isn't very often, we have a place to stay, but obviously we don't have the same level of maintenance necessary or have to worry so much about having a home that we're not staying in. So it's kind of nice just to have our place. For us, the size is, we live in hotel rooms for most of the year. So to us, the size is perfect. And we've had people stay over. I've had my sister stay. We've had people come and visit for a month at a time. I think the most people who have slept in it is 4. And Chelsea Burns, who is also a triathlete. It was me, Tommy, my younger sister, and then Chelsea slept on the kitchen floor on a mattress, which the kitchen floor isn't even. The floor space is not big enough for a mattress, so the mattress was curled on the edges, but it worked out.
Oh, that's brilliant, and we will tag the link to the great story up in the show notes. Katie, the lows of sport, the highs, the lows. What would you describe as the darkest day in your athletic career to date, and why?
I think probably the darkest, it wasn't really a day, it was more more extended than that, and it was kind of leading into the Olympics, and I think I had set a lot of pressure on myself, and I made triathlon way too much of a job, and I stopped enjoying the process and all the good things that come along with it. I wasn't really being mindful or aware of all the positives. I was just focused on an outcome, and it's pretty dangerous to do that, I would say, or I don't find it to be one of the healthiest things. So I say though that was the darkest point, is from leading into the Olympics and kind of then being disappointed with the Olympics, but it was also the biggest learning thing that has made every day better since then. So that would be probably the lowest.
And that's so interesting. It's made every day better since then. So, you said you'd made it too much of a job and you were focused too much on outcome. So practically, Katie, how's it made every day better since then? Well,
just because by realizing that's not the way I want to experience another Olympics if I have the opportunity, I think I've come at triathlon now with more of an explorative mindset where I have more specific goals for each session or each race. I make sure that when I go somewhere for a race, I try to enjoy the place for things outside of triathlon. Like when we were in Dubai, we went to the fountains, and when we were in Singapore, I asked to go to the gardens by the bay, and it doesn't have to be big things like that. It could be a little thing like walking around or walking into a cathedral, or smaller, easier, activities, I guess. But it's just enjoying the people, the places, and not getting too caught up in the outcomes, I guess.
And leading into Rio 2016, Katie, did you feel more expectation from yourself, what you're expecting of yourself, or did you feel it more from others with regards to the outcome?
It was definitely more from me, and I think it's just what I saw myself being able to achieve. But I also don't think I really noticed how I kind of felt like a cloud was over that time, but I don't think I really noticed it when I was in that moment, like during that time, I didn't really notice how kind of moody I was. It was only after the fact that I was like, oh, like I was just a bit grumpier and more kind of on edge than what I have been since then.
Yeah, so interesting. And for those that know you, you seem to be such a, focused athlete, but quite happy-go-lucky as well. So, pressure and expectation can do really funny things, can't they?
Yeah, and I think, it's just kind of regulating it and now being aware of it has been a really life-changing thing for me. And
Katie, before we throw into performance round, what role does your team environment there with Joel Filiol as your coach, and really it's a championship factory, the squad, but what role does the squad play in your success, and how would you define or describe the culture of the squad?
I think one of the luckiest parts of me and my triathlon journey is that I get to be a part of Joel's squad. And when I was looking for a coach, I guess it was 5 years ago now, he was basically the main person I was considering, and fingers crossing that he would take me on. But it's just really great to be it on Joel's squad. Things aren't really overcomplicated. There's just such a great work ethic amongst the athletes, but it's not, we all work hard together, but it's not overly competitive. It's just everybody's going for, the same goals, and then you hang out afterwards. And it's also, what I really like is that it's also really, and Joel does a great job of individualizing things too. So today I get a Katie swim where it just means I do less than everybody. and it's nice that you have that team dynamic. You have your teammates there for you to push you to be better, but then also it's okay if you need to do something different for yourself, and that's acceptable, and everybody has their own program. So you don't feel like you're conforming to someone else's needs, which is really good. And then we're just lucky because we have people like Tommy, who's here to help with the girls and guys for workouts, or Mario's brother has been here the past 2 weeks and has done bikes and runs with us. And Drew Box, Emma Jackson, but now Box's husband, he's here, and he's been a great asset to our team. And then our massage therapist. So we just have, I would say, such an optimal support system between both the athletes and everyone else. It just works out really well.
No, it's fantastic. One of the things that stood out to me was, I think you were doing a car park session as a squad, and there were a couple of the team helps, if you like, there sweeping the road ahead of cornering. And I just thought, wow, there's attention to detail as well.
It really makes me grateful for everybody who surrounds us, because they're all so supportive, and they all pick up a lot of different roles than the ones that maybe would define their job description.
You're listening to US Olympic triathlete and Super League Triathlon champion Katie Zaferes sharing around the highs, the lows, and the learnings of her career to date. Support for today's show comes from the Gold Coast Marathon. Just like the Physical Performance Show, the Gold Coast Marathon encourages runners of all ages and abilities to push their boundaries and strive to complete a personal challenge. The Gold Coast Marathon is held annually on the first weekend in July and is a must-do event for any budding athlete, weekend warrior, or family looking for a challenge to complete together. Run for the good times at the Gold Coast Marathon. Visit goldcoastmarathon.com.au. Support for today's show also comes from Pogo Physio. We exist to help you get back to your physical best following injury. We want everyone who walks through the doors of Pogo Physio to complete their rehabilitation, get back to their physical best, and in doing so, cross their physio finish line. We don't want to see anyone who walks through our doors for a single session more than what they need to get back to their physical best. And to help you recover faster and save money, you can choose to rehabilitate with one of our monthly fixed-fee rehabilitation packs, all starting from a low $195 inclusive of physiotherapy, remedial massage therapy, and active rehabilitation, as well as use of state-of-the-art equipment such as the Ultra G anti-gravity treadmill and Normatec recovery boots. To find out more about Pogo Physio Services or to schedule your 1-hour initial appointment, or if you're overseas or interstate, don't forget we have telehealth or Skype consultations available. Jump over to pogophysio.com.au. For now, let's jump back with this week's featured performer, US Olympic triathlete Katie Zaferes. Katie, are you ready for a performance round?
Ready.
Here we go. You can chalk this up as a session for the day as well. Training session most disliked.
It's like 30-second sprints on the bike.
How many are we talking about?
It doesn't really matter for me, but I would say 8 to 10.
Brilliant. Training session most loved?
Build runs.
And what might that look like?
Anything building, but I'll say 5. My favorite one is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with 2 minutes recovery in between. And
you're building on each of those fartlek segments.
Yeah, so you get faster as you get down to the 1 minuter.
Brilliant. Pre-race meal, what has fueled you to your great success recently, Katie, on race day?
Thai curry.
Is that right?
Actually, it's the peanut one, the peanut sauce one. I forget what it's. Penang? Yeah, Penang curry.
And that's
specific.
That's the night before?
Oh, sorry, Masaman. I'm getting corrected by my helper back there.
He told me his inputs are always welcome. Bedtime, morning time, Katie, do you have preferences around that, or are you quite relaxed around that?
Morning, whenever I wake up around here, it's like a little bit before 7. And bedtime, lights out is, well, definitely by 10. And by 9, I'm like off my phone and reading or something.
Yeah, that's great. Katie, who's the athlete that you most admire and why?
Mario Mola, because he's just such a genuine person. He works hard. He's so kind, and just he's obviously achieved great things, but he's the most down-to-earth, nice person you'll ever meet.
Yeah, wow. And squad or teammate of yours as well there with Joel Filiol. Absolutely. Is there a mantra, Katie, that you use when you race or train? Any regular self-talk that you have going through your head?
Yeah, I would say I do a lot of I'm strong, I'm strong, I'm strong. That would be the main one. I also tend to count sometimes if I'll do 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 just to keep a rhythm.
Yeah, that's so great. So you'd be on the run or bike, swim, or any leg counting?
Just on the run for the counting.
Yep, just to get that rhythm. Katie, who's the toughest competitor you've ever raced against and why?
Flora Duffy, because she doesn't depend on anybody, and she's just strong across the board, technically, mentally strong, and yeah, she just raises the level real high.
Fantastic. Katie, what's your number one recovery tip?
Sleeping. Go to bed.
Brilliant. One word to describe your racing style?
Consistent.
How would you describe being in the zone?
I think just being forward focused and not really having to think about it. Just one direction, tunnel minded. When
was the last time, Katie, you were in the zone?
It actually happens often when I crash, because then you don't have to think about anything. So the last time I can remember it specifically was Yokohama in 2017.
That you crashed?
In 2017, I crashed, but then ended up like getting back on the group just because it was so simple to me at that time that there was like one goal, and it was to catch back up again.
Yeah. So that forward.
But then I lost my sunglasses and had to do it again in that race. And so I also had it twice in one race.
Forward focus ×2. Katie, final question in the performance round. The hardest session you've ever done. What would you say that's been?
It would probably be the group rides in Santa Cruz. We'll do group rides during our winter training, and we do them on Wednesday and Sunday. And probably the Wednesday group ride in Santa Cruz is like I can like feel my heartbeat in my throat.
You're listening to US Olympic triathlete powerhouse Katie Zaferes sharing around her highs, lows, and learnings of her career to date. If you missed last week's episode featuring dual Australian Olympic swimmer Megan Nay, then here's a little snippet of what you missed.
I wasn't swimming the best, to be honest. I came in to Commonwealth Games over my skin folds, over my weight, but I was just stoked to be there. I was so happy. I was like, yeah, whatever happens, happens. And I just remember going, it was my birthday, it was in October, so I celebrated my birthday the night that I won the 4x2 relay, which was pretty cool. And then like my whole team and like the crowd saying happy birthday to me, so that was like pretty special. The biggest high obviously was my 200 backstroke. I wasn't really swimming the best backstroke I had coming into it. I was swimming more freestyle.
To tune into the full episode and explore the archives of the show, jump over to your favourite podcast player and enjoy an episode that tickles your fancy, dating right back to episode 1 featuring surf lifesaving Ironman champion Ali Day. For now, let's jump back with Katie Zaferes. If you could boil everything you've ever learnt from your career to date, which has still plenty of chapters being written, down to one piece of advice to help listeners of this show perform at their best, what would your one piece of advice be, Katie?
It would be to consider yourself part of an evolution of yourself and not to think that because your work hasn't been reflected right away, that it's not going to be reflected in the future. You're getting better, and if you're putting in the work to get better, it's going somewhere.
Yeah, wow, that's really powerful. Katie, every listener of this show issues a physical challenge for the week. So what is Katie Zaferes' physical challenge going to be?
I think, I've been thinking about this, and I still don't have a good one.
10 push-ups are very good at that.
Can I call a friend?
Yeah, phone a friend. Tommy Zaferes.
10 push-ups every time you go to the toilet. Although I question saying that one because some of the toilet situations are not great.
Well, don't do it in the bathroom. Do it somewhere clean.
So is this, just to clarify, is this for number 1s and 2s?
Anytime you go to the bathroom.
Okay. So,
anytime.
All right. So on race day, there might be a few push-ups happening, yeah?
Maybe skip. Well, actually, I do push-ups before the swim on race day. I find them to actually help. I only do 6, so maybe give yourself a discount race day.
There you go. Race day is the exception, but otherwise 10 push-ups every bathroom stop. So if I'm at the practice at Pogo Physio and I'm doing push-ups in the hallway, you know why. Katie, a fun question. 3, we ask every featured guest this. If you could have dinner, fun question, with 3 people, living or past, who would be at your dinner table and why?
Ellen DeGeneres, because I just think she's awesome and just a great human being. Kirsten Bell. I also just like her as an actress. And Tommy Zaferes, because then I'd want to be able to experience with him, and I feel like he'd ask better questions than me.
Oh, there you go. And Tommy has been doing a great job recently with the World Triathlon Series behind the scenes. So I think you're right. He will ask some great questions, but that's a great table. Katie, if there's people listening in and they've heard about triathlon, they've been considering maybe jumping in a local event, wherever they may be in the world, what would you say just to encourage them and allay some of their fears and concerns about this daunting prospect of swim, bike, run?
I would say don't get too far ahead of yourself. Make maybe 5 specific goals for the race. Think 5 things you want to achieve that are, very, very specific in the sense, like for me, it'll be like getting out hard to the first buoy or maybe having good body positioning for the cornering and things like that. So it's pretty, once you get done the race, you should be able to say like, yes, I did that, or no, I'm going to try again next time.
So don't overcomplicate it. Just think about 5 basic little action items you want to tick off.
Yeah, don't do too many because that gets overwhelming.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, Katie, there's someone that's, I always say triathlon should come with a warning on the label, will cause addiction. So you've got someone on the other end of the spectrum, they're an age group athlete, absolutely pushing to perform at their best, and they're overthinking it, for example. What would be your advice to help them specifically in the sport of triathlon? So you answered more broadly before, but across all manners of performance, about evolving yourself, but specifically for the age group triathlete, the seasoned performer, what's your one tip for that demographic, Katie?
Take your easy days easy and your hard days hard. I would recommend having lots of conversational pace sessions, and then on the days that your coach has identified as a critical session, those are the ones that you go hard on.
Yeah, fantastic. And on critical sessions, Katie, in a typical week, which you're in between rounds of the World Triathlon Series as we record, what would your week be broken down into in terms of how many sessions would you be completing across the disciplines?
That's a tough question, but we have basically 2 critical run sessions, 2 critical swims, and probably two critical runs per week. And that's all kind of dispersed amongst I think we did 28 hours of training last week.
Yeah, so they're large weeks. And do you actually term them critical sessions? That's the phraseology?
No, I think I just use that for you right now.
Well, that's it really makes sense. I like it.
I think we would just say workouts.
Yeah. No, well, that's.
But I don't want to confuse workouts with just training days.
No, that's brilliant. Katie, finish this sentence. Finally, a few fun ones here. The most important thing in life is
happiness.
What drives you to work hard?
Be better than I was yesterday.
Are you more externally or internally driven?
Internally.
And Katie, what mistakes are you afraid of making?
I'm afraid of stopping triathlon before I've reached what I would consider my potential, or as far as I could go.
And what's the concern about that?
I've got more plans in life. And I think for me, I probably won't continue doing well I say all these things, but I do change my mind often, so I don't want anyone to hold me to anything that comes out of my mouth after this. But I think after 2020, I'll probably be finished with ITU. But and then at some point, Tommy and I will want to start a family, and I don't know if I'll come back to sport, or I don't really know my plans for that. So the past few years, I've considered myself to just keep getting better and better with triathlon and figure it out more and more. And I would probably stop triathlon to have a family and may or may not come back after it.
Yeah, no, certainly. Life's got so many chapters, and you've got such great talent. And obviously, the immediate focus is Tokyo 2020. The Olympic Games, and we certainly wish you every success, Katie, in pursuing that. And where can we follow your journey, Katie? Looking forward to Tokyo 2020.
I think Instagram would be the best one, Zaferes 6, and then also Facebook as well. But people kind of get the same the same content between Instagram and Facebook.
So choose your medicine wisely. Katie, you're such a great personality for the sport of triathlon, and you use the word, and I'll reuse it, consistent champion. So thank you for taking the time out of your very full day amongst your training sessions, and big thanks to your amazing husband there, Tommy, for his co-contribution. That was excellent. And wish you all the best for the year ahead, Katie.
Thank you so much.
So there you have it, another episode of the Physical Performance Show, and I trust you enjoyed Katie's share-ins today. If you did, then please take a moment to let Katie know what it was that you found interesting or inspirational, or anything that grabbed your attention. You can find Katie easily over on Instagram at Zaferes6, and that's KZAFERES ERES6, the number. And while you're at it, tag in the Physical Performance Show at Physical Performance Show. And while you're at it, consider a podsy. A podsy is a screenshot of the episode that you're enjoying while you're out and about, or whatever it is that you do or enjoy while you're listening to the show. A massive thanks, as always, to those who have left reviews over on iTunes. They do really help the show grow. This week, a big thanks to Positive Perform. Positive Perform rated the show 5 stars and commented, totally enjoying all of it. Even though I've been coaching, training, and competing in different events for 40 years, I still learn something from every guest. Maintain the good work, and I'm looking forward to more of the same, Martin. Martin, thanks for taking the time to leave that review, and do please get in touch at Brad_beer on social media, or drop me an email, b.beer@pogophysio.com.au, and we'll get a little gift out to say thanks, a signed copy of my running bestseller, You Can Run Pain-Free, in its 2nd edition. Big thanks also if you've been hitting subscribe to the show. The benefits of that are, 1, it gets into your earbuds each and every week as the show goes live, and 2, it really is the very best way to help the show grow. And I'm so appreciative for everyone that subscribed to the show or shared an episode with someone in their world. We've just ticked over 500,000 iTunes downloads in 3 years of outputting the show. So I just want to say a huge thank you. Without you tuning in, this would not be possible each week. Also, very open as always to feedback on how the show can be bettered in any way. Perhaps it's a guest that you'd be interested in, an expert edition. Please shoot me emails at any stage, b.beer@pogophysio.com.au. A massive thanks, of course, to the 3 good folk who every week make this show possible. Daryl Misson, our audio engineer, Susan Wilkin on all things show administration, and Matthew Walding on all things graphic design. Of course, another huge thank you for this week's show sponsor, the Gold Coast Marathon. If you are on Australian shores and looking for a great mid-year challenge, then really do not look any further than the Gold Coast Marathon. It is on my calendar every year, and you can select from an event ranging from the junior dashes right through to the full-length featured Gold Coast Marathon. Now, coming up on next week's episode of the Physical Performance Show, we keep the featured performer theme going, and we bring another incredible American athlete to you, this time in the form of retired US running sensation Ryan Hall. Ryan is the US half and full marathon record holder. He was the first to run sub 1 hour for the half marathon, 59:43, and also the only American to break 2 hours and 5 minutes in the marathon, clocking a 2 hour, 4 minute, 58 marathon at the 2011 edition of the Boston Marathon. Ryan's recently released a terrific book titled Run the Mile That You're In, Finding Purpose in Every Step. And I had a great time discussing career highs, lows, and the many learnings from Ryan's incredible career. So be sure to be tuning in next week to the Physical Performance Show. Until then, keep pursuing your physical best performance. I'm Brad Beer, and this has been the Physical Performance Show.